I'm with Courtiers Fund Manager James Timpson to find out what's been going on throughout May. James, tell us, what's been going on around the world in markets?
Hi Leo. Well, it's been a fairly topsy-turvy month really. So the UK market has been struggling. The FTSE 100 index lost nearly 5% during the month, partly because it's been a bad month for oil prices. So oil futures declined more than 10% during the month, and there are a lot of big companies in the FTSE 100 which have exposure to oil. Also, the latest inflation data came out, and although inflation measured by the Consumer Prices Index came down 1.4%, which is the biggest monthly movement down since 1992, the decline was actually less than expected. So because inflation hasn't come down as much as expected, that was tough for both the equity markets, which fell nearly 2% on the day, and also the bond market. So gilt yields were back up again. They peaked at nearly 4.4%, the 10-year gilt yield did. So it's been tough for the UK. However, the US market has fared a lot better during the month. The S&P 500 index actually posted a positive return for the month. And just a couple of days ago, actually, any fears that the US may be about to breach its debt ceiling were thankfully alleviated with the House of Representatives passing that bill. So that's been pushed back now to January 2025. So that provided some relief to the stock markets, which would have seen all sorts of volatility had that debt ceiling been breached. And also, the US market has been doing quite well lately because of its heavy concentration in tech stocks, which of course have a lot to do with the recent boom in artificial intelligence. So companies like Nvidia, for instance, just a few days ago became only the 9th company in history to reach a valuation of $1 trillion. So AI is another thing that's been dominating markets at the moment.
James, you're answering all my questions on the US. So the tech stocks you mentioned now, they're growth stocks basically. So markets are favouring growth stocks at the moment. Would that be right to say?
Yes, so growth stocks have been outperforming value stocks so far this year.
And there's
partly because...
Courtiers is a value investor. So again, Courtiers is long-term investing as well. So I'm interested to understand how this is influencing the investment team. Are you looking towards the growth? Is this a trend you expect to continue? Where do you see it going?
Well, we are long-term value investors, but of course markets go through cycles. So at the moment, the market is favouring the growth sector. We saw a similar thing happen in 2020 in the midst of the pandemic, when obviously tech stocks were doing very well because everyone was investing in technology so that they could work from home. So there was a huge rotation into the growth sector then, but of course eventually that reversed. Value stocks became favoured again, particularly when the vaccine was announced. So these things go through cycles. At the moment, growth stocks are being favoured, but over the long run, it's been shown that value investing is more prosperous, and most of our clients are investing for the long term. So we don't have any plans to suddenly become radical growth investors. We still believe that value investing is the way to go.
Absolutely, and the long-term performance in the recent awards highlights that some way. James, that's great. I think that sums up what we've got for this month and where we're at and where we're headed. Have you got anything in your sights for the coming month?
Yep, so we're still keeping an eye on interest rates, given what inflation did last month. It's now possible that there may be further interest rate hikes, whereas this time last month we were contemplating an end to rate hikes and possibly interest rates coming back down again, but now that's a bit less certain. So we're expecting certain amounts of volatility to remain in the market. And of course it'll be interesting to see what does happen with this recent interest in artificial intelligence, which companies are going to do well, and it's interesting to see what the future holds.
Absolutely, and how we drive that. James, thank you very much for your time as ever. I will speak to you next month.